We are going to be recording this meeting, just so y'all know. Autumn's going to be leading us, but we're going to make this like a fun group discussion about independence, finding your independence. What does that even mean to you? And when we have adversity, how do we continue to establish our independence in a world that sometimes is not super supportive of that? And so yeah, so this is like an interactive thing. Everyone's gonna be chatting and sharing. And so feel free to just jump in. You don't have to even raise your hand. You can just say what you want to say. But yeah, if you have a ton of background noise, maybe just keep it muted. But if not, you're all good to just jump in whenever. Yay. And we'll go until 4, right? Yeah, 4 o'clock. Or sorry, 4 o'clock my time. You guys are like, what are you talking about? It's 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, depending on where you're at. So, like for me, it's 5 o'clock right now, right? It's five
Yeah.
o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock at my house.
Okay. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for coming. And like Lindsay said, we really I like to make my things a lot about conversation because my story is my story and everybody's story is different. And especially with a topic like this, right? Like what is growth? What's adversity? Like that can look like a lot of different things for different people. So, quick intro. My name is Autumn Nordall, and I was paralyzed in a car accident when I was 16 years old. Um, I hit a patch of black ice and was ejected from the vehicle and sustained my spinal cord injury that way. And so, I was in high school. I was looking at colleges. I had a boyfriend, right? Like like my high school sweetheart. Like at that point in my life, life was great. And then it was flipped upside down. And I think all of us have stories, right? Like we all have stories of things that we've been through. And I guess, this is my biggest one and not my only one that has really pushed me to be and to grow through adversity. My brother committed suicide when I was 9. I had a house fire when I was 11. I feel like someday I'm going to write a book, so wait for that one. But I've really been through just trauma after trauma after trauma. Um, and so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Like Bree and I were like, well, what should we talk about? And I'm going through just some personal struggles in my life right now too. And so just be really raw about it. Like even though I'm here being like this presenter on growth through adversity, like I'm still growing. We're all still growing. Um, and so I have a couple notes. If I look over, I'm on my computer here. But so adversity, like so I'm like, what's like the definition of it, right? Like what is adversity? And it's the hardship, disruption, challenges, something that forces change. So I just want to take a minute and for us, and if you want to share it, share it. This I've found that these spaces are real, they can be really healing, whether you choose to share or not, And so for me, I'm a sharer, and that's how I heal is through talking and through sharing my story and my experiences. So if you feel like you want to do that, please join in on that. Um, but we've been through a lot of things in our lives that have forced that change. So just take a minute and think about some of those things and think about some of those things that we've had to do to grow to get through them. And that can mean so many different things. I mean, I was thinking just today, right? I was thinking about all these different things that we could talk about or all these different things and um trying to multitask. I'm also a mom and there was shit in my way in the floor, right? Like there was toys and then there was clothes and like, at one point I like grabbed something and I was like, oh man, there's like stuff all over the place. And I had to laugh because at that very moment I was like thinking about adversity. And, I think a lot of people think, oh, it's such a big thing. Like, oh wow, you guys, you know, whether it be living life in a wheelchair or being parents or working on ourselves, whatever that may look like. People look on the outside and they're like, wow, that's adversity. But sometimes it's just getting through when crap is all over your house. And the mindset that you're working through when you're feeling that way, because it can be something huge. And one thing that I tell my kid a lot is everybody's hills are they're all different sizes. And my biggest thing in my life, my biggest trauma is huge to me, but somebody else's biggest trauma is huge to them. And I think a lot of people compare, oh, well, you've been through so much, or wow, well, they've been through. It's not a comparing game when it comes to adversity.
And I think
It,
a lot of the times, especially when they come up to us, they're like, well, I can't tell you about my struggle because you're in a wheelchair and it's worse. And I'm just like, please don't do that because your struggle is just as valuable as mine, too, right? Like giving able bodies who work with our community a lot, giving them the space to also talk about their adversities without feeling like it's not good enough, right? So that's something I also like to share with our scene because people will be like, well, my life's not that bad because I have X, Y, and Z. And, it's like Autumn said, it's not comparable. Like, unfortunately, I've lost a lot of people in my life because my town is just one of those little small towns where there's just a lot of addiction and things like that. And so people in that small town, they pass away more than what you would do in a different style of town, right? And so for me, the way that I handle death and grief is so differently compared to someone else. Because before high school, before I even graduated, I had lost over a dozen people in my life. And that's not common, apparently. When I went to college and I shared that with my college class, they're like, "Wait, how many people died in your town?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's not normal." And so like the way that I grieve is very different from someone else. And so like when Autumn was talking about adversities and how adversities are all different, um, I think my biggest adversity in the last 5 years was an identity crisis, right? Like, so finding out that my origin story wasn't exactly what I thought it was. That's really, really hard to think like, okay, my last name is Powie, I'm Dutch, da 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 da. You take a DNA test, you find out that the last 30 years is kind of a lie. That's my adversity right now was like that identity thing. So it doesn't always have to be physical. It could also be like this mental adversity that you're struggling with. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share when you were talking about that, Autumn. That was my biggest struggle in the last, people will think just because I'm in a wheelchair, that's my biggest problem. No, my wheelchair someday is like a piece of cake compared to the other things going on in my life, and that's okay. So.
I love you for pointing that out because it's so true. Because I do think a lot of people see us, they see that chair, and they do think that that's our biggest barrier. And it's like, hell no, this is my chariot.
Mhm.
Like, this is not my barrier. The world is, or something else. Yeah, Shane.
Hi everyone. So my name is Shane. I've been in a chair for about 13 years from a car accident. And I like when you mentioned mindset. And like for me, that was one of the biggest things like going through being paralyzed, right? Like I grew up playing soccer my whole life, and something happens like this, and it's mindset and it's like perspective. Like for me, it was like seeing what I had versus what I didn't have, and then trying to focus on that because you're always going to have those negative thoughts. You're always going to have those things in the back of your head, but to just not focus on the negative, right? And just focusing on what you do have and how you work with what you have. And for me, like that's where I think adversity started. And like, how do you take that to the next level? And it's funny you mentioned like even just some of the things like if you have stuff all over your house, like for me, like that's if there's something that's like stuck behind my chair, I'm doing something so like minute, but it's like it is how do you approach those little things, then to become bigger things with the right mindset, and coming into it like, okay, how am I going to overcome this, and what are the steps I need to take in order to do the things I want to do in life. So like everyone has that adversity, and everyone is different, and to be able to just focus on yours, and to then take those actionable steps of like, how am I going to overcome this, right? And I think that's really one of the coolest things about us being in a chair and having these injuries is like just like anything else in life, there are pronounced steps on how to like overcome everything or reach any goal you can. So like for me, like that's kind of what adversity is, and how I kind of cope and overcome those things.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
And it's it's funny because we all have like right these things of like the stuff in our way. Like there's all these things that we can relate to when it comes to that adversity. But then there's so many of our other things, like there our own personal things that we're working through, right? Whether it's work or personal or demons or generational trauma, right? Like we're all working through things and we're all working through them at the same time. So we're dealing with these like little things that are big and get bigger, and then they were dealing with these things that are already big, and then we have all these random things that freaking pop up on day to day and minute to minute. And so really working through that and it, Shane, it is mindset, right? But what happens when you get into that spiral? And I don't know, I feel like it happens to all of us, but like I speak for myself, is there are some days where it's easy to get into that, right? Or maybe some weeks. And like that's where that peer support comes in. And I'm really lucky that today I have a few of them on right now. I see your faces. Um, but especially lately, like I'm just going through some massive stuff. And normally I feel like, oh, I've got this. Like I'm such a badass. That's right. Like you try to wake up in the day and you give yourself those mantras and like you're waking up. Like that's that first part is like, heck yeah, here we are. I'm awake. Um, but like that peer support. And but what happens when we don't have that? Or what happens when that's not available too, right? And that's the other piece that I'm truly for the first time ever, and I'm turning 40 in a couple of weeks. I'm really starting to figure out that it's literally not about anybody else. Nobody else. Nobody else. Not, and like I will probably cry, but like, because this is really hard and it's been a really hard pill to swallow. I feel like I'm still choking on it. We are responsible for ourselves. We are our own heroes. We are the only people who can be our own heroes. We can look for other people to help, right? Like we all need that support. We all need, and whether that's a personal friend, a professional, but we are our own person, and we're the person who has to pick ourselves up out of the shit sometimes. Sometimes we're that only person that can do it. But when you're low and when you're feeling like you don't want to go through and be that person who gets through all that adversity anymore, like what do you do then, right? And that's when you really have to dig deep. And like I love how you said that about that mindset, Shane, because that's when you need to realize that is a mindset thing, right? That is our minds playing tricks on us. And I feel like it's like this ebb and flow through life too, right? And like tell me what y'all feel about that. But um it really just depends. It depends on so many outlying factors. My gosh, sometimes for me it depends on the dang weather, right? Like I could be having a total crap day, but if that sun is shining, that gives me that little extra bit. But if it's raining, that could literally be the thing that like tips me over the edge to like make me feel like in this crabby funk of a mood, where just everything feels funky that day and just kind of icky.
I think the
But
important thing to like what you're saying too is like, man, we're gonna have those days, like, and maybe more so than not, right? Like, it's just part of life and a part of this overcoming of adversity that we face every day. And it's okay, and it's like okay to have that, right? It's okay, and it might even be important to have those days because not every day is gonna be sunshine and rainbows, right? Like, so, I think we gotta just like you said, it's on us to be like, okay, like, I guess like self-actualization. Like I'm in this position. I see where I'm at right now, and I see where I want to be, and how do we get there?
I would love to add on to this. My name is M, short for Emily. I've been a wheelchair user for about like 3 years now due to a bone disease that I have. Um, what are we talking about? Now I'm nervous that I'm like not talking.
No, just flow, just
Um,
flow.
yeah. So I want to add on to the ebbs and flows and how it is so important for us to just allow ourselves to feel whatever we're feeling, right? When we don't have that peer support and we're feeling like shit. Like some days when things are in my way, like physically, I'm like, all right, let me just pick it up. But then the other days, I'm like, oh my freaking God, this towel's in the way. That's always in the way. But it's it's really allowing ourselves to feel what we need to feel in order to heal and ask ourselves like what do we need at this time and how can we give that to ourselves, whether it's like, oh, I could use some deep breaths right now, or some fresh air, like using the tools that we have available to help us when we don't have that peer support, which on the other hand is so important to have community, whether it's like professional or spiritual or peer to peer. But like, yeah, I can't stress enough like having the tools to be able to like self-regulate and reset our nervous system because as wheelchair users, I feel like those little things that can get in the way, they add up, whether it's like pain or physical things in the way. Um, and so when we have tools like meditation or just fresh air, little things to do that, it's so helpful. Um, and or like to overcome what we're feeling or just, work through it.
Yes, tools. Tools. I talk about the toolbox. Anybody who knows me knows that I talk about the toolbox, and it always drives my son. So he's 12 now. So he's basically a man. If you didn't know that, 12-year-olds are basically men, and so he just knows. But I'll always be like, these tools that we have in our toolbox, and he's just like, and I was like, dude, I say this to adults. I use this to myself, and I'm almost 40. I talk about my toolbox and the tools that I have in my toolbox. In fact, I called Lindsay about a month ago asking for help for tools to put in my toolbox. Like, so I love that you said it that way because it is. It's literally it's tools and like you said, the meditation and that like that can be sometimes it's just grounding, just getting outside, just going outside in whatever way, shape that is, whether it's opening a window and trying to put your face by the sunshine or being able to actually physically go outside and sometimes lately for me, it's just really been mindfulness and just like reminding myself, like, I am safe and I am loved and I am a badass and I've gotten through all this shit that I've gotten through in my life up until now. I've got an okay success rate, right? Like, I'm still here. And sometimes that's all it is. And sometimes it's like not even a pretty way to pep talk myself, but it works because when I fact trop myself, like, that's just like, I can't even argue with myself. And I'm really good at arguing with myself, right? My brain is my worst enemy every single day. And it is like this constant fight of working through that. And I love so I had met her last year in Maine, and she had also given me some tools, some grounding tools, and I use them. And another thing that somebody told me recently in the last couple of months, I've been following this lady. Come to find out she's local to me, but she does kind of like card readings and stuff like that. But we were talking about grounding, and sometimes being a wheelchair user, I struggle. Um, I can't just pop myself on the ground, right? And so that's been a struggle for me because before I was a wheelchair user, I was out in nature. I grew up in the country, um, riding horses and fishing and getting dirty and all of those things. And it was really hard for me to kind of refine that. But even just like my little garden on my deck and my hands in the dirt, or when I can take my foot off of my foot plate, and put it in the grass. But the coolest one that someone told me about was while you're in the shower. While you're in the shower, right? And so with that water running over us, um, and one thing that I do when I'm practicing that is realizing, when it comes to science, how old water is, right? And um, whatever your beliefs are, like one thing that I've really resonated with recently is that like the water that I shower with could have been the same water that my ancestors showered with. And I know that that just sounds so big right now, and that's not what this conversation was about. But when you talked about that, as wheelchair users, when it comes to things that can be harder to do, we have access to that water, whether it's washing our hands or showering or things like that. And just sharing that information with you guys, that I feel like it's just really helped me when it comes to things and when I'm unable to find that peace, just being able to ground in that shower. Hi, Lori. Thanks for joining us. So we're really just kind of having a conversation. So pop in as you want, and we're just really talking about our lives and things that we want to share. Um, One question I had written down, let me find it. If you want to share it, feel free. But when thinking about a challenge that you've been faced with that really seems impossible at first, when you look back, you can really see how it shaped you. What are some of the things, like what do you think about? Like what comes to your mind? Whether it be the situation or the things that you kind of look back on now, whether that be, a month ago, years from now. And like we talked about earlier, it can be something really, really big, like for me, like what my accident at such a young age. Um, or it could be something even just like I don't even I can't even really think of examples, but and not that it's not big, so I don't want to say something that's not big, but like, something that maybe you wouldn't even think would be a topic, right? Like
As
something,
simple
anything.
as being raised by a single mom, right?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
because my mom was the main provider, but she also struggled with her own, demons and addiction issues. I grew up really fast. Like I had to mature really fast. I had to learn how to take care of myself. I had to learn how to provide for my sister when I was 10, and so that her being a single mom and us in the way we grew up really shaped who I am now and how I interact with people and how I try to caregive and micromanage and why I get stressy when I can't take care of people, right? Because that was a big part of my childhood was being in charge and being in care of other things, not necessarily my mom, but like my little sister or parts of the house or things like that. So is that what you're kind of going with, Autumn?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
yes,
that's the biggest thing that affected me growing up is my mom being a single mom.
Yeah, I would love to add on to this as well. That I had a very similar experience to what you're saying, Brie, and it made me realize how much I was living for other people. And it wasn't until I got diagnosed with what I had my bone condition about like 7, 8 years ago that I realized how much, I mean, through it, I realized how much I was living for others, right? And then the challenge was when I finally accepted I needed to use a wheelchair and that I had a disability, that I took that power back and was like, well, like now I have to live for myself and I get to live for myself, right? It was like I was forced to see how much I was living for others and their approval. And then this was like, listen, you got to take care of yourself now. And so, um, and then so with the whole all of that, it's like that identity shift I had as well. It's like I wanted to be a doctor. Um, and for what reason it was for like the public recognition, the approval of my mom. And now like I went to college like pre-dental And now I'm like an energy healer, which is like so like 180 in what I thought was gonna happen. But at the end of the day, I realized I've always wanted to help people and be of service. So that's really the core of like what I wanted to do. And I knew that was for myself and like my purpose in the world. So yeah, that's really been shaping me as of the last few years is like figuring out like what I want to do. Because like you said, Autumn, in the beginning, it's like you're turning 40 and you realize this is all about like you, right? And I realize we're all gonna be, 6 feet under one day, and like who am I to care what somebody thinks of me now when like 70 years from now, I won't be thinking about them, or I'll be dead, and or they'll be dead. And it's like, what am I doing living for everybody else's opinions and judgments when it's like, who gives a F, you know?
Hmm. One thing I've really come to realization with um, lately is so I was injured and I'm from a small town, so I didn't get a lot of opportunity for like really good rehab, right? And there were options. I was just not presented them. And so it's been for me, it'll be 24 years in March since I'm injured. And one thing I've really realized in the last few years is how I've gotten myself independent enough, right? Like independent enough. And like, like I'm really working through like my own frustration and shame and anger around that. Um, because it's really easy for me to be like, oh, it was the hospital, which yes, it was the hospital that didn't provide me with those options and those opportunities. But then after that, so my mom had already lost a child, and so then she almost lost me. And so this other piece of this whole puzzle is that very similar to I really just wanted to make sure that she was okay. I just wanted to make sure that she was okay. I was okay. I was all right. I was doing okay. I was alive. I was pushing through. I had like this massive amount of community because I feel like when you have something that's traumatic that happens like that, like in a small town, you get that good rally, but then it dissipates. And that's kind of where I'm at now, right? Is like I don't have that community that I had before that I relied so heavily on that I 100% 100% thought I would have forever. Forever. My family, my friends, I would have it forever. I would have this big community that would, anytime I would need something, that would be there. And it's not. And for so many different reasons, right? It's like not right, it's not wrong. It just is. That's just part of like that growth, right? Which is kind of like part of this conversation, which really we've gotten to, but we really haven't, right? So like that change that comes out of these hardships is that growth. And a growth can be so ugly. It can be so beautiful. It can be all of those things. Shane, I use sunshine and rainbows a lot, so I love that you said that. It can be sunshine and rainbows, but it can be loads of shit. Like it is. And Linz, what did you say? We were talking about independence, and what word
Oh
did you
yeah.
use?
I was gonna chime in right now because yeah, I had said what I have found with independence and the disability community in particular is like it's super subjective. And so
Subjective.
we can say, "Oh, I'm very independent," but it's like, what does that mean exactly? And what is like, especially in the world of disability, I think it's like we see really, really vast differences in what someone independence is. And also like it's I think in our society we place this huge value on like I'm super independent, I don't need any help. And it's like there's a lot of shit there that I don't think is good. And I think it actually can really make us feel in terms of like mental health, it can make I think this, disability community, including myself, feel kind of like I should be at this point at this time. And there's like a lot of these like weird like comparison variables and stuff like that. So, I think it's important to sit down and be really honest with yourself about like, first of all, what does it mean to me and to be independent and why? Why does it matter? And who is like, where am I getting this information from? Question the story. Question the story that you have to do everything by yourself or you have to be at this certain level while also, pushing yourself I think an appropriate level to be like, but for me, like I have two kids and there are things like getting down on the ground and I wish I could do a chair to floor transfer. And like, theoretically, I could work a certain amount of like, this certain way and do this work and get to that point. I haven't gotten there and I'm mad at myself for that. But also at the same time, I'm like, I have a really different type of disability than someone else who's like, has a much lower injury or just has like, whatever. There's all these different things. And I think it's important to like really be making your own definition of what independence is while also making goals and continuing on towards something that you feel proud of. Like that's really authentically your experience, not someone else that you see on Instagram or that you heard about or whatever.
And to add on to that, your independence journey and what that looks like for you can also change over the years, right? Like, so what independence looked like to me 5 years ago looks very different to what it is now, right? Like when I lived in La Crosse, I was independent and I don't want, I'm not even going to do the little quotes because I was very independent. I rolled myself to school. I cooked for myself. I took care of myself. I can shower, do all the things. I didn't drive yet, right? I wasn't driving yet. My mom still had to come and help take me grocery shopping and help me run my errands. And I did have neighbors who would help me with, transportation for appointments and stuff. I don't see that making me any less independent at all. That driving piece at that point in my life wasn't a big deal. I felt so empowered with the independence that I had then, right? Fast forward to now, that changed. I'm in a bigger city. I need a car. I need to drive. I need to be able to get to here to there. I don't have that support that Autumn was talking about because that's what happens when you move away or you choose to better yourself and try to go somewhere else. You're going to have to find new friends. Um, and then fast forward to 2025 where I got injured, right? And so, well, not injured, but I had a cellulitis infection on my tushy. And so that put my independence back, right? So last 3 years, me independently getting out of the car, I just pop over. Now for me to be independent and safe, a transfer board's the way to go. I want to keep that skin, my new skin on my butt healthy. And so now it looks a little different. Am I any less independent because I use a transfer board? Absolutely fucking not. No. And so think about that too as your injury change, as you age, as you start a family, as things grow and different, that's going to change for you and that's okay too. I think that mental piece of that has been my biggest struggle for 2025 is comparing independent Bree 2023 to what I am now. And I'm like, dang, I used to do a lot better and I used to be better. It wasn't better, it was just different. And that's okay to have that change and grow and cycle and adapt as life goes on too. So that's something that I like to bring up is that your independence journey isn't always going to look like it does.
I love how you put it that time. Like that really resonates for me. Because like that enough that I had said, I was, right? I was
Enough.
same.
Yeah.
It was enough and it was
I
where I
couldn't
needed,
get, yeah, I couldn't get myself off the floor. I fell in my
yep,
apartment a
it
couple
was where I
times.
needed
I
to be
called
at.
911. No big deal. Hot firefighters came, picked me up off the ground. I thought that was fine. That was my
Yep,
tool. Like, right, okay, if I fall, I have a tool. And then that's I'm still independent.
yep.
Yeah.
But now, like being empowered by my community, I'm like, oh, I may not be able to do a floor to chair transfer like Lindsay's talking about. Shoot, girl, I'm 14 years out. I still can't do it with my long femur legs. It's frustrating. And I could take the time to learn that, but do I invest a lot of time on this one little transfer, or do I put that time into my jobs or my relationship or something like that? And that's okay too if you choose not to fully learn a or a floor transfer because it's not necessarily the biggest thing for your independence. You don't need that. I have figured out two push points, right? If I have my chair and someone else's chair, or like a table or a toilet, if I got two things to push on, I can pretty much get myself off the floor. That's good enough for me. I don't need to worry about flipping my butt up all the way over my head. Like make it work for you.
And realizing that that
Bree,
growth is that journey.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Brett,
Well,
Sherry.
that's what I was gonna say is like, man, Bree, like you touched it really hard, like because where you said like where you were before, and then you had the skin issues, and then that kind of was a little setback, but it was a different type of adversity that then changed your mindset on okay, like what are my goals now? What's important to me now? And again, looking at like your self journey, like okay, skin is the number one thing, like so maybe I don't, maybe I have to use the sideboard and that's okay. So like that different type of adversity that hits you. I mean, while I was that's a perspective I don't think I really thought about until you mentioned it. So like thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, it's like what are your goals? And if something changes, right, like you have to have a different perspective on it in the bigger picture of things.
We have
And sometimes forgive yourself. And like that's where I'm at right now is like that self-forgiveness of like forgiving myself that it wasn't my freaking goal. It didn't need to be my goal, right? And just because it's impacting me now and it's kind of kicking my ass, that's right now, right? And I've made it through all of the other times when, say, like for me, right? So Bree's talking specifically kind of about that because I totally fell buck naked this week out of the shower. And it was just a thing, right? Like it was just a thing. And it's just frustrating. And it hasn't happened in a really long time. And so it was a big slice of humble pie for me. And sometimes we need those too, but like giving yourself that grace that you deserve. Giving yourself that grace that you deserve. And Em, I love you so much because you taught me that. And Lindsay, you too, like, and Bree, you too. Like just those conversations of like giving yourself that grace. And I always need reminders. And so this is me reminding you and also trying to like take my own medicine from it because it's so hard to give ourselves that grace and to not be mad at the person we think maybe we should have been a few years ago, right? Because maybe we would have been different now, and that person that we would be now would be where we would want it to be. That's a line of shit we tell ourselves. Because no matter what, it wouldn't be that where we want it to be now, right? Because our like I said before, our mind is our worst enemy, and we are absolutely freaking awesome, like as we are. And as we grow, and as we work on ourselves, and as we forgive ourselves, and as we love ourselves.
Yeah. I would like to add something there because I think that something that I've been aware of is there's like a lot of external pressure from other people, both disabled and non-disabled, who I've been aware of in terms of like wanting wanting for you as a person with a spinal cord injury to overcome adversity super quickly and do it cutely and do it over there, like don't really tell us all about the details but just figure it out, show up with a smile and like be okay. Like I feel like I really encounter that a lot, especially because I'm like I'll be 4 years in October, and I feel like, I still grieve every single day, like the life I used to have, the things I used to be able to do. And I feel like there was time and space for that for the first couple of years. And now I feel like and I'm one of those people who I have a tendency to like be like I'm okay, like I'm a people pleaser, and I'm like I do this somewhat to myself, but at the same time I also feel like there's a lot of situations where people are like, oh, she's good. Like, she's so resilient. I could never do it. But she's like figuring it out and she's totally fine. And like, in some days, I'm like, yeah, I am. And then other days, I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm fucking sad and over it. And I don't want to be in a wheelchair. Like, what is happening right now? And like, so I don't know. I feel like there's not a lot of space for the like Brie was saying, it's like a non-linear process, but everyone wants it to be linear, where they're like, oh, Lindsay's like doing great, she's figured it out, she's blah blah blah, and then it's like they don't check in, they don't really call anymore, it's like they're like, we're good, she's good, okay, and I'm like, not really, but okay, yeah,
Everyone else life goes on, and so does ours.
yeah,
So does ours. They just and it's I feel like it's just truly a lot of it is this matter of ignorance, right? And not that people like when I say it's like not that people are stupid. I mean, we all know that, and some people are, but like it's a matter of just like being ignorant to it, like really just like, and it is hard because like you said, there's no right way to heal, right? Or to process. Like some of us were like loud and we're bold, we're visible and we're out there and like we're feeling okay. And sometimes like we're not. We're more quiet and we're healing in silence. And sometimes we're like a whole load of all of it. And like you said, that not being linear, like there's no right or wrong way, but I feel you so hard on that grieving every day, right? 20, almost 24 years. And I feel the same, especially since I've really like rolled into this motherhood world for the last 12 years. Um, I have hit a lot of things that I never expected, like things that come out of nowhere that I just really didn't think of. And one of them is being, as my kid gets older, it's actually almost harder, and I thought it would be more easy. It really did. Um, but I'm realizing that like he's outgrowing me, right? And then and trying to figure that out. And so that's why for me personally, I'm really trying to heal more out loud. For him to see that if for places like this because like I didn't have any spaces to heal out loud. It was, like you said, Linz, I feel like it's hard on people to hear that. And it is. I'm not saying it's not, but also it's really hard not to be able to talk about it. And like that's the space that I lived in for a really long time was like, don't talk about it because it's really hard for other people. We don't talk about it to make people feel badly. We just talk about because it's something that needs to be out there, right? Like for us, because sometimes we just need to say it and we need people to be aware and just kind of like mindful that this journey is a daily journey. It's not like, oh yeah, she's good, right? She
It's
went on
not
the
like
beach with her kids
it's not like a
last
video
year.
game
She's
where you
good.
level up and like you're done, right?
There's
So
no reset button.
right, and to play off of what Autumn, and I'm doing this because you're next to me on my screen. So Autumn and Lindsay, I think another thing too is people get a lot of pressure of how they're independent, like the timeline of that independence journey, right? Like with what Lindsay was saying, you see stuff on social media, these people getting injured or getting diagnosed, and they jump right in, they figure it out in a couple years, and they're good to go. And if you don't, that's fine. And this is why I love the empowerment sessions. This is why I love Wheel with Me is because I love finding different people with different stories. Not every story is going to look like Mason's out there or Chelsea Hills or the other people that just like seem like they figured it out and just like now their life's amazing, right? That's not everyone's story, and that's okay. Autumn and I, we're over a decade out, and and there's things that we've just started learning in the last 5 years. And that's okay too. And that's why I love the Autumn Shares Her Story, because then we could reach out to people who think like, oh, it's too late for me to work on this independence. Like I missed my shot or I can't change anymore. You can change if your goals change, if you want to grow that independence, it doesn't matter how far out you are. I mean, you guys, pretty much everyone on the screen has kind of been involved with Wheel with Me for a while. So you guys know that we have coaching through Jesse, we have empowerment nights, and through all of this stuff, we're able to see all these different stories and learn that it's okay to take a different journey. Brittany Noonzig is another one that I absolutely love. She's very similar to Autumn, got injured in high school very young. She had her mom helping her taking care of her for a lot of the beginning of her injury. And so her independence journey is very similar to ours. We didn't figure it out until 10, 15 years out. I was there just like 5 years ago when she learned her Florida chair transfer. And she had been injured for so long. And because we gave her that space to be like, hey, it doesn't matter how many years out you are, let's work on it, let's figure it out. They were able to do that. So I'm really appreciative of people like Autumn or like Lindsay who are just like straight up honest and being like, you know what? I didn't figure it out right away. Or you know what? I'm not okay. There's a
Mhm.
lot of days where I'm fine with my disability and it's cool. It's whatever. I'm in a wheelchair. No big deal. But then there's days where I'm just like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever had to do, and I'm over it. Like, I'm just over it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell
Yeah.
you how
White
often.
flag, white flag. Laugh,
I
laugh.
text Jessie all the time. Me and Jessie will have these days, and she's like, "I'm just done being paralyzed today. Can we just fast forward till tomorrow? Because today is a bad paralysis day." And that's fine. That's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I
So for
think that what's super important about that those two is like if you're having those days, we got to talk about it, right? Like I mean, it's super important to like get that off of your chest, or and not like just hold it in, because I mean I think that's when it gets worse. And just find a way to express it, right? Write it down, whatever you got to do, because talk to anybody you can who who understands you, or family or whatever, and even if they're just there to listen, right? Like I think it's so important because we all have those days, and we gotta share those.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's honestly
Totally.
why, and not everyone vibes with Jessie. I mean, this is a well-known thing. Jessie's a very unique flavor in our community. But the one thing that I love and respect about Jessie is that she shares those hard, raw moments when she's having those high pain days, or she's really struggling mentally, or she's really over her paralysis. She goes on her story and she tells y'all how it is. And seeing people like that who keep it real, raw, and honest, and they don't just sugarcoat everything, that definitely makes me feel more comfortable, like Shane said, to like reach out to my friends and be like, you know what? It's not me being whining, it's just me being like, it's a rough fucking day. And
Mhm.
that's okay to share that, right? That's okay to put it out there because it's not all sunshine and rainbows and butterflies and all those things. Some days it's just going to be a big sticky pile of poop. And
Yeah. And it's not always supposed to be, I
no,
feel like.
not.
Because, at the end of the day, like, we're having this human experience and we're given this such a wide range of emotions. And to pretend like every single day is gonna be all dandy is a lie. And what we see on social media is literally just a curated highlight reel most of the time. And, Jesse is such a great expander for me in that area because like I mean, I hopped on like a week or two ago and I'm like, I'm having a shit day actually. Um, and it's so important to highlight that for sure. And I think, what Lindsay you were saying earlier about like the grief and then being a people pleaser as well is like you never really want to tell people that your burdens, right? Because you don't want to feel like one. You don't want to put that on anyone's shoulders, but then to add on to what Shane's saying, it's like people want to be there to support you. Like just how we want to support other people and we care about the people in our lives, like they want that just for us as well. And I don't think, being a people pleaser really changes when you're in a wheelchair as well. And, and it makes it even more like exacerbated. But like at the end of the day, it gives you a different perspective. Like, who's really going to be there for you and who can I really talk to when I'm having low moments. And how important it is to really just be able to communicate our needs. Be like, hey, I just need to like talk or like, or some space to like settle down. But um yeah, I don't know really know how to end the sentence, but just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I feel that. And I think that just to add on to that too is like you're so right. I mean, it's like I always because I'm a perfectionist people pleaser. It's like so bad. Like the worst combo and like becoming a wheelchair user was like really, I mean, for so many reasons it's hard for anybody, but like there's those personality traits that are like make it even more because I'm just like I want to be okay. I want to make sure everyone else is okay. And it's so yeah, so thank you for naming that. And also what Bree was saying, like I have had, it's been so helpful to have a community of people who I can be like, what the fuck? Like I can just talk about annoying wheelchair shit that with other wheelchair users and I can say like I'm so over being paralyzed today or I'm so sick of my wheelchair or yeah, like it's so helpful to have those people like Shane was saying, like just to let it out and they get it and that piece is so huge and like that I'm so grateful for because I have always been very much like a community-based person, and I feel like so grateful for this space and a lot of other spaces that feel like really safe and feel really like you can just go. Yeah. And people are like, oh my God, me too. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. Like, like yeah. So I just, yeah, I'm really appreciative of that. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
I feel like this just helps break the stigma. So thank you guys all for coming because when we talked about like what this was about, like growth through adversity, we're like, the hell is that? Right? Like that's literally we were like, what the hell is that? Like
I
it
think
is a
Autumn,
lot, and we're
yeah, I
just
think
gonna pile it all in.
we literally I was like, Autumn, what are we gonna call your event? And then we are like, yeah, like adversity through whatever, or like growth through invest or independence through adversity. And then we were like, what are we gonna say? Like it was the funniest thing that we like made the name first, and then we were like, well, this is actually gonna shift into a really interesting topic. So I thank you for the fluidity of this session, Autumn, too, because I the energy exchange that was just happening in the last hour, I think was really, really powerful. And I'm really excited and I'm just blessed that everyone shared. I'm blessed that we were going to be able to share this with some others as well. But I'm really grateful that you guys gave each other that space to just share and point things out because it's not pointed out enough, right? Everyone thinks that this is the way to go. If that's not how it's going to happen, it's going to look like this and then that and then up and down, and you might do some somersaults in between. And that is literally how grief is, how growing is, independence is. And I think that needs to be like highlighted more is that like, my journey isn't always going to be like this. My last years have honestly been like this and then like this, and now I'm kind of back up here, and then I could possibly get back down here, and that's okay. It's okay. So thank you, Autumn. Did anyone else want to share? We have about 5 minutes left. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and try to end right around the top of the hour. But Michelle and Lori, I know you guys have been just kind of soaking everything in, which is totally fine. If you want to type something in the chat, you're welcome to, or um, if not, that's absolutely fine. I'm just blessed that you guys made it. Miss Jackie, my little baby nugget, do you have anything that you would like to add, or is there anything that resonated with you tonight after you popped in?
Um, Sorry I was late. I was eating tacos.
Mm.
Um, but no, I'm well, yes, but yeah. Anyways,
Uh,
no, it's
very good.
excited to be here. Um, and I really enjoyed hearing different perspectives. Because I personally was born with my disability versus acquiring my disability, but I did go through having to learn different things because I always say acquiring a disability versus having your disability growing up is very different.
Yep.
So, growing up with a disability, your parents are kind of just giving you and are like, good luck. Acquiring your disability, sometimes you're given the tools and the resources and stuff like that based on like where you are. But I do feel like that it is like more known to get those resources given to you rather than having to figure it out. Bree knows like kind of a lot about my story. But so uh I didn't know how to take care of myself, whether that be caffeine, showering, you know, washing my hair, things like that. When Bree came on, so I was originally the social media manager for Wheel with Me. Bree joined the team, and then she eventually took over, and I stepped away to deal with some things. Um, but when I met Bree and Jesse in 2022 or
Yeah, and so in
2020,
person,
yeah,
in person, we
yeah,
finally got together.
yeah. I remember, Jesse and Bree both being like, "Come on, like, let's go," and I having to be like, "Yeah, I don't know how to take care of myself. I don't know how I'm going to do that," stuff like that, and Bree and Jesse being like, "We can teach you," you know, and I think it was like 4 days out of my 10-day stay or something with Jesse. Um, I learned a lot. And, I have stuck with it and I've been able to teach other people about it and stuff like that. And, I guess even going back to kind of, um, just talking about Jesse in general or whatever, like how So I'd followed her on and off for a while, but then um, I had a big medical emergency in 2018. And then so when I had reached out to her in 2021 or 2022, she had just made a story that was like, I just crapped up my back. I have to go and clean this. And I was like, oh, okay. There are other people that deal with this, you know? Um, and it was just like really eye-opening and really just like knowing that there were other people that it did happen to, but then also that talked about it, because, growing up, whether you're disabled or not disabled, you learn going to the bathroom and stuff like that. That stuff is talked about in the bathroom, or that stuff is kept about in the bathroom. That is not shared, you know. You don't just tell someone, hey, I'm not coming to that invite you invited me to because I just shit my pants and I need to go home, you know? But
To
so
Jesse,
that
because
was like,
Jesse will text you that. She's like, I literally just pooped up my back. I'll see you later. And sometimes it's
exactly.
okay to own that now, right? Like, hey,
Mhm.
and I try, all my team is all able-bodied. And so I tell them I gotta go change my pull-up. I gotta go calf. I gotta do this. Because the more we share that, the less of the stigma is gonna be around it. But
Mhm.
sorry, keep going, Jackie.
No, you're fine. Um, but really between October of last year and wherever we are this year, I don't know. Um, I have been like kind of getting more into those abled spaces and stuff like that. So really breaking the stigma of, like wearing a photo leaf for like a photo shoot, um, go,
Which was
transferring.
fire, by the way. Absolute fire.
Transferring and having an accident or canceling on someone because of whatever happened, and I have met some very incredible people through sharing that, very incredible people that not only have invested their time, or not only that I've invested my time with, that they've invested their time with me, um and so it takes time, and it's scary. Like this whole year it has been kind of like, okay, let's see if we can do this. Okay, let's see if we can do this. And it's been good. you know um Next week on Tuesday I'm going to Minneapolis for a week. um to with other wheelchair users, but at the same time it's going to be like I'm going by myself, I'm staying in a room by myself, I'm doing all these things, and also like they're encouraging us to like go out to dinner together and stuff like that. And so just being with other people is kind of scary.
Thank you for talking about that fear, Jackie. I mean, I know that
Mhm.
we're at like 6:01, so I don't want to like again, I want to be mindful of other people's time, but
Yeah.
that is the one thing that obviously maybe we can talk about another time. It would be a
Yeah.
great topic, but like we didn't really dive into pushing through some of those fears, right?
Mhm.
And how that brings about that adversity and that growth. And we talked about how it's not always pretty, but we didn't talk about how freaking scary it can be. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
mentioning those fears because that is so valid and something that really needs to be talked about.
And
Mhm.
thank you for bringing up that point because that's something that I didn't want to share for you. But a lot of the times, people who are born disabled are very similar to people who are born in like r resource rural places. They're not taught how to take care of themselves, right? Because that's just the way they were the whole time. It's not
And
like
they're just expected to figure it out, I feel, right? Like, oh, well,
spinal cord injury.
it's
We
it's
get
just
that
always been like
toolbox.
that,
She didn't get a
right? And
toolbox.
and
Yeah.
I feel like there's in some ways that similarity of when you've been injured for so many years is like that's that expectation. Oh, they've
Mhm.
got that. They know. They're all
Yep.
right. They're all right. We don't need to give them those resources. And that's lies. We need
Yep.
resources too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll wrap it up just because I know the schedule for the rest of the week, but I just Thank you to the team. Thanks, first of all, to my team for helping me. I wasn't sure I was going to be here tonight because I'm on the road for work. So thank you, Lindsay, for helping, and Autumn for sharing your amazing experiences. And thank you to everyone who showed up and shared your
Thank
amazing.
you, everyone, for just being raw and real. Like this was, I say this every time, and so I don't know why I get shocked every time, but like this has been a lot more healing for me than I thought it would be, right? And so thank you all for being part of my healing journey tonight.
And our healing journey is not over with yet, you guys. We have a whole week ahead of us. And obviously past this week, but we're gonna just empowerment focus. But for the rest of the week, we have some really great ways that you can keep pouring into yourself. So tomorrow night we have our other board member, Kaylin Lands. She's a physical therapist working at a Shepherd. She's going to be talking about how you can take some PT skills into your life outside of or after rehab, to keep that independence going. Wednesday, we will have our lovely friend M join us. She's going to be doing a healing Reiki session. So if you guys are looking to get realigned or just looking for some peaceful meditation vibes, Emma's going to give you all of that and so much more. And she has some other cool stuff she's going to share with us. On Thursday, we have Nikki Walsh Adapt Fit from Wheel With Me Fitness, or Wheel With Me Adapt Fit, sorry, coming in to do an adaptive workout. As you guys know, that's one of our sister companies. The girls are amazing with the fitness app. Um, and I always try to get them at least once or twice a year. So Nikki had the time this month to join us, and I'm super excited to have her back. I think it's body weight. I don't think you're going to need anything. At the most, it would be maybe a lightweight or a resistance band. That's usually the vibe that she keeps it. But I think she's doing body weight. And then Friday we have Allie Cameron. She has presented with us before. She's online known as the Seated Perspective. She's going to be doing a disability content creator, social media type of presentation. So it's about all the stuff that she's learned from the community and how she used that in her into her social media coaching. So she's now coaching others with content creation and stuff. And so I'm actually super excited about that. If anyone knows me, social media is like a fun little hobby passion project that I love sharing with the world. So please join us. If you have not signed up for the rest of the week, the links are still available. You will get a copy of this recording if you signed up with the link that you signed up from. We'll give you the recording, and I'll also drop a link for the rest of the session. So if you have not signed up, keep an eye out. Give me a couple hours to get the video loaded up to YouTube, and get that link, and we'll get that up to you guys. But we're just really grateful that you took the time out of your busy lives to not only support us, but to pour into you. And that's how I end every empowerment like that. This is obviously we love that you guys come here for us because it keeps us going and it keeps us, moving in the right direction. But at the end of the day, you pouring into you is why we do this. So thank you so much for taking an hour for you tonight. Thank you, Autumn and Lindsay, Shane, M, Jackie, Michelle, Lori. I am so blessed to have you guys in my energy bubble right now. Have a lovely, lovely evening, and I hope to see you guys all tomorrow night.
For sure. It was nice to meet you guys.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye,
Thanks for
everyone.
coming. You too, Shane.